Hello, welcome to Sound and Fury Book Reviews. As usual, I am Tina. Today I'm doing a book review of The Tusks of Extinction by Ray Nayler. This is a book that came out in 2023 from Tor.com. It is a sci-fi novella. I got this book from my library and read it as part of the Interstellar Book Club. I have a feeling that I might be going off on some tangents in regards to this review. So just a warning. I do that in my reviews sometimes, but I have a feeling that this book made me really think about a lot of stuff. And so I'll probably end up going off my notes here. Now, normally I just talk about the books that we read for the Interstellar Book Club on the live show, which is coming up on the weekend. But I really, really loved this one, and I wanted to talk about it for Earth Day. Today is Earth Day. I am very excited about that because I'm a huge environmentalist. This book was also nominated for the Nebula and the Hugo this year, I think, too. So that's kind of cool. So it was kind of funny that we read it now. Anyway, so because it's Earth Day, here's one of my tangents. I was going to do a video about books and environmentalism and how to be environmentally conscious while being, a book collector, because clearly I have a lot of books here. But then I was like, there's really not that much to talk about. And, the main problems with the environment obviously don't come from people just reading books and buying books. It comes from major corporations and billionaires and all of those people that use private jets, things like that. So I was like, I'm just going to devolve into a rant. So I was like, you know what? I'm not going to make just a ranty video. I will mention a few things, kind of maybe suggestions here during this book review on Earth Day, and then I will move on with my life, which is signing petitions about environmental protectionism, things like that. So one suggestion I would have is that, and this stems from seeing a lot of bookstagrammers doing being like, oh, look, I have a 7th version of this book now. And I'm like, do you need that? Isn't that a bit consumerist? Do you need to venerate the idea of hoarding 7 of the same item? Isn't it just people that have 1,000 of those Stanley mugs or whatever they are, or just 1,000 lipsticks? I don't know. I'm kind of it's a bit wasteful. So I would say, your favorite books, maybe have a couple special editions like that. You don't need, every special edition of a book that is put out. I have my folio Jurassic Parks up behind me. Oh, you can't see them. But that's the only special editions that I have, and the only special editions I'll probably ever buy unless someone gives me one. I do that. I highly recommend, if you want to be a eco-conscious book reader, to use your library. Use thrift stores. Most of the books you see on these shelves I got from thrift stores. There are some books that I had to order from Amazon, the Space Captain Smith books, because you can't get those anywhere, or at least not the shipping to my country. And a lot of the books I have on my other shelf you can't see on the other side of the room I got from university, because the other side of the room is my kind of literary fiction. I have just as many shelves of kind of lit fic, kind of historical fiction, just regular fiction over there. This is my sci-fi and fantasy. And I'd say, yeah, a good probably 70% of the books on these shelves are from thrift stores, and then the rest are purchased, and then some were gifts. And thirdly, when it comes to ebooks, if you buy an ebook and you're never going to read it again, or you didn't like it, make sure you delete it. Just delete it. I know you purchased it, but delete it, because if you're never going to read it again, all it's doing is taking up server space, and servers require a vast amount of resources to run. So much water, they produce so much heat. So a little thing you can do is go through your ebook list and be like, yeah, that book sucked, I'm never going to read it again. Delete it. And don't just delete it off your Kindle or whatever. Go onto Amazon or wherever you bought it from and delete it out of your account there too, because that just saves a little bit of space. I always tell people, I said, don't, make sure you're deleting your emails too, because emails take up a huge amount of server space as well. So yeah, there's my little environmental book-related PSA for Earth Day. I hope, because it's Earth Day, you're going out and doing something environmental, or maybe thinking about environmental choices today. It's something that preoccupies way too much of my mind. I have people tell me, they're like, you worry about this too much. And I'm like, I want my kids to live on a planet, not a wasteland. Anyway, moving on. The Tusks of Extinction is a short novella that packs one hell of a punch. Or maybe I should say one hell of a stomp. Okay, I'll move on. What's it about? Moscow has resurrected the mammoth, but someone must teach them how to be mammoths, or they are doomed to die out again. I'm going to mispronounce this. Dr. Damira Kismatulina, an expert in elephant behavior, was brutally murdered trying to defend the world's last elephants from the ivory trade. Now her digitized consciousness has been downloaded into the mind of a mammoth. As the herd's new matriarch, can Damira help fend off the poachers long enough for the species to take hold? Or will her own ghosts and Moscow's real reason for bringing the mammoth back doom them to a new extinction? You'll have to read to find out, but I will tell you a little bit. I found this story so incredibly sad, yet wholly immersive. It's told in this wonderful stream of consciousness sort of style that blends the present with the past, and also reflects how Demira is experiencing her consciousness within a mammoth brain. She talks about at one point how mammoths and elephants' memory works, and the structure of the novel mimics that, which I thought was absolutely fascinating and so well done. I also found it was quite easy to follow, despite the jumps through time. I also really like this style of narrative, though. I really love stream of consciousness. Like, ever since I first read Mrs. Dalloway, I've been, obsessed with it. So I found this was great. I mean, it's not wholly stream of consciousness, but it has those aspects to it. The book has such lovely prose, both in terms of lines like this one. Up to that moment, his father had been a rare thing in their home, sweeping in loud and chaotic, accompanied by other men, by the corpses of animals, scheming and oiling his rifle, not a parent, a myth, an anticipation, an encounter, a departure. I thought that was really cool. And there's also these very kind of great, kind of outright critiques. So he's talking about billionaires. And they hated one another. None of them thought any of the others brought any value to the planet, though they fooled themselves quite often into thinking they themselves did. So that's the kind of phrasing you'll get in this book. The book carries a great blend of somber literary prose and an absolute takedown of human greed. The prose is also very visceral and borderline upsetting at times, but I think it's meant to be the latter, as the book has a clear agenda, and part of that is to make us empathize with the animals that are being victimized. Yes, there are some descriptions of elephants being killed in this book. If that will upset you, I mean, it upset me. Just be warned. I do think, though, it is an important book to read. If you're prepared for it going in, you might be all right. I was okay. None of this is fiction, though, the treatment of elephants, because elephants are being killed for their ivory every day. It's so distressing, because elephants are one of the most, sensitive animals on the planet, and it's so horrific to me. As such, the themes of this book are quite obvious: environmentalism, the greed of the wealthy, and how they can't possibly be satisfied or even happy, as they're always wanting more or thinking that everyone else is out to get their stuff. Another is trophy hunting, how it's the mark of a pathetic person looking to feel big, or a psychopath. Listen, I'm all for sustainable hunting. It's actually an important part of our ecology, I guess. In certain places, like where I live, in Canada and Ontario, we need to cull the deer population, or they'll strip the forest of other creatures. It's something that humans have been doing for centuries, and we need to keep it up, at least as long as the numbers are good for the creatures. I love animals too much myself to hurt them, though I do enjoy a good, skeet and trap shot. I have my firearms license. But my husband, he hunts deer and turkey, and they use all of the meat, of course. They split it between 3 families. It lasts for months. He applies for permits through the proper channels through the government. He had a rare doe tag one year, because it's hard to get doe tags, and a doe did appear, but the doe had a fawn with it, and he was like, no. He's like, I'm not here to tear a family apart. For him, I think, I asked him about it, because I was like, I don't think I could ever do the actual hunting part. And he says for him, it's like being really immersed in nature. It's not the same as hiking or just walking in the woods or even camping. It kind of forces you to really pay attention to the sounds of nature, to really connect with them, to be kind of part of it. If you've ever watched the show Alone, you can see how true hunters value the animal for the sacrifice they've placed upon it. It hurts them to kill them, but a part of respecting that is not letting any part of it go to waste and ensuring the animal does not suffer. It's an interesting, I think, because, animals are treated far worse in slaughterhouses and than they are being hunted by people in the woods generally. There are trophy hunters. Those people, though, tend to go after endangered species and lions and things like that. Whereas people that, especially people that live on farms or in rural areas, sometimes they need to hunt to eat, especially if they're not vegetarians. And in some places, it's actually not economically or just naturally feasible to be vegetarian, because there's more animals than there are vegetables. Anyway, I just want to clarify that I I'm not anti-hunting. I am definitely anti-trophy hunting, though. I think those people should be hunted themselves. Anyway, there are also sub-themes in this book, many of them, one of which was sustainability and animal rights, which I don't think I have to explain. Another is, what is culture? If you haven't grown up in a place, is it still your culture if your family background is from there? Like, what gives a person the right or privilege or reason to claim they are part of something which they have not been born into and have not experienced? For example, I'm of German heritage as well as Scottish and English, but while I identify more with my German side, because my relatives still live there, I am not German. I don't speak the language, and Oktoberfest is the only cultural thing I do. There are a few dishes I make. My Oma's dumplings, Pfiffernissen at Christmas, Spätzle, Sandkuchen. My husband hates Sandkuchen. He's like, why would you eat a cake that tastes like sand? I'm like, it doesn't taste like sand. It's just gritty. But I mean, that's about it when it comes to German stuff. Like, I don't have any other connection to that culture. My culture, I guess, is Canadian, but as far as I can tell, that really just consists of us being like, well, we're not American. Anyway, so this idea of a second or third generation culture and what that entails is a fascinating one to think about. And this book doesn't really discuss it in too much detail. It just kind of brings it up and lets you kind of ruminate on it. And I really liked that kind of idea. I think it gives a lot of talking points, actually, for the live show, for the book club, which is great. Now, the characters in the book aren't very fleshed out, except for, I'm going to say his name wrong too, Sayatoslav? Sorry. We get to Mira's deal and her general story through the mainly flashbacks and memories, and it's clear she's a tough, principled woman. There's also Vladimir, husband of an extremely wealthy trophy hunter named Anthony. We don't learn a ton about either of those two men, but Vladimir does face a moral quandary that isn't hard to understand, though it is, you can see how he's wrestling with it. And I thought that arc in particular was really important. Salatoslav, I'm sorry, is a teenager wrestling with his father's choices, and his arc is about redemption and about escape. All of these characters are entangled thematically, and their link to one another is resolved near the end. I thought they were all interesting people and raised so many good questions. The whole book just raises so many good questions and points. There's also the mammoths, of course. They're very important characters themselves. They don't really have, like, personality, but, they're integral to the story. Now, the plot is not complex. Most of the novel deals with flashbacks and memories, but what we get of the plot makes sense and it's pretty easy to follow. There's a clever little revelation at the end that doesn't really change anything, but brings the story full circle and ties the themes together. I just think this is such a well-wrought, well-conceived little novella. I didn't wish it was longer, which I sometimes do with novellas. I think it was kind of perfect the way it is. I would say, I guess overall, that it packs a wicked punch. I thought it was fantastic, and I highly, highly recommend it. If you liked this book, if you have read it already, I think you might also like Feed Them Silence, which is about a woman merging her brain with a wolf's. It's a little more out there than this one. I mean, this one was kind of out there too, but that one's just kind of like a little bit weirder. I'll provide the video in the watch next thing here if you want to check that out, because I thought it was pretty cool too. Also a novella. So thank you for watching my review of this, and sorry again for my off-tangent rambling. So thanks.